Welcome to the Online Success Journey Podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey Podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 93. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Ross Keating. He uses experience and tools developed during 20 years in senior sales management, coaching, mentoring, and business management roles. Hello, Ross.
Hello, Patience. Thank you very much for having me on the show. It's great to be here today.
Thank you for coming. I know the clan here is anxious to hear your story, so let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own online business? Take us right up to the last job or business before you are online.
Okay. I could go back to when I was born, but I don't want to go back that far. It could be a bit long. My corporate. If I go back to my corporate where I really got involved with customer relationship management, went back to the 80s when I got involved with databases for tourism and setting up a tourism database and using that. And we were some of the first, the organisation I was with was some of the first in the world to do that. And that showed me how you could use technology to build relationships with people. And my role was to get suppliers to list the information on the database, and we actually went from a free model onto they had to pay, and a lot of people don't like to pay for something they've been receiving for free, and that was a challenge from a sales point of view. And we came up with an attractive style of a way of doing it for them, and we focused on showing people the benefits of being listed, not how much it was compared to what they used to pay. And that really sparked my interest in that technology can be used to help you monitor and improve the value that you deliver, and that really got my attention. And then in the 90s, I worked in the financial services industry where they were they used to pay a lot of upfront commissions. A lot of people talk about trailing commissions for insurance people and finance people now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And the struggle there, were back in the 90s, a lot of people were still being paid. Insurance companies were getting the money up front from the customers, and they didn't care really. Once they got the money, the insurance companies weren't following them up afterwards. They just relied on people paying these sums up front. They didn't have installment payments in those days so much. So the issue there I was given was they gave me 40,000 customers who had not heard or spoken to a representative of the business for between 2 to 5 years minimum. And of course they wanted to engage with those people and get them to take out new products and services. And again, we use technology to do that efficiently. And that really showed me about customer relationship management and showing people the value of what they've got and using technology to get to know them more and to be able to segment the database to make the communications meaningful with people. And that was back in the 90s when customer relationship management systems were coming out. Now, the financial services sector is very good. You get a lot of information from your bank, no doubt, Patience. Do you get a lot of mail from your bank offering?
Yes, you can get from the bank, maybe online before you get there.
Yeah. And so that's what they're doing. Yeah, we back in the 90s, that's what I learned to do that, because for an insurance policy, for example, I used to ask the IT team, can I have a list of customers, please? to send out a direct mail shot in those days. And they said, well, which customer do you want? I said, what do you mean, which customer? They said, well, do you want the life insured on the policy? Do you want the person who's paying for the policy? Do you want to have the person who owns the policy? Or do you want to have the person who is the beneficiary of the policy? And you can see that's four different people I could send a communication to. And that's what today we take for granted with technology. And so with that enabled me to help that company build the relationship. And then from there I went into an organization that had a sales team, and we were doing something like $36 million in sales through different channels. And the sales team had a customer relationship management system, but they didn't like to use it. They didn't want to put the information in there. It was a hassle. It got out of date, and nobody ever looked at it, except maybe the sales manager. I don't know whether have you ever been in that boat where you've had to use something that you didn't want to?
Yes, because you feel like you are being forced, and if it is a system we are not used to, you're like, why should I be running this? So yes, and it really drags people because you should be getting on learning the system, but you're like trying to be resistant. So how did you manage?
Well, it was focusing on the benefits. So often we look at the features of what can be offered online, what our products and our companies can offer online, what those features are. I mean, when we talk about features, we have drop-down boxes. We've got you get our newsletters, and you can click on here, and it's a one-click to do something. People don't care about that. They say, well, so what? What's in it for me? Why should I use this? And in that particular company that I was talking about, we had agents around the world that used to sell the products of that company. And we actually said, well, look, you're going to have to make the purchases online with us. And if you don't want to do that, we won't do business with you. And the company was a very well-established business and a market leader, and it had a very strong presence, and it was the market leader in that industry. And they said, well, you can't do that. We said, well, we have to, because if we do it this way, you don't have to spend so much time on the telephone. Would you like to have more time freed up? And so that's how we're going to create your invoices. We're going to do what down under here we call buyer prepared invoices. So you are getting commission from our company. We would prepare the invoice made out on your behalf to our company, and then we would pay on that invoice, and the tax department, everybody was happy. And what that meant, that in us doing that, company doing that you as our agent got your money probably 10 to 20 days quicker than if you did it the old way. And we said, well, if you could get your money quicker from us, like in 3 days of the end of the week, would you like that? And they said yes. And so we were able to offer these benefits which saved time, which meant money to them. It gave them their money quicker, so that improved their cash flow. And we were able to show them that if they did more sales, we would actually give them more commission if they hit certain targets. And again, that was using the technology. And with the sales team, I was able to show them, well, look, if you go away and you've got the person I assigned to look after your territory, they will fill in the notes. So when you come back from your holiday after 3 weeks, you don't have to rely on that person remembering to write down what they said. You can just go and look in the CRM system to get the information. Would that make it easier if they filled out their call report on that? Oh, well, yeah, it would, yes. And I said, if you didn't have to make a weekly sales report on all your calls, would that save you some time? They said, yes, that would save me 3 hours every Friday because I don't want to have to prepare a report for you. And so they like that idea, not having to provide a report for me. And that's where the benefit. So you can see that the features were that they entered data into the system and we would have a contact record, but the benefit for them as a sales team was that they saved time. They could do what they were focused on and they didn't have to write a silly report. They still had to provide me with the report, but it was about market information. So it helped them and it helped me. So that's there. And at that point, I moved into being involved in setting up customer relationship management systems and the development of one that was distributed internationally. And again, it was focusing people on the benefits of why they would do that. And that showed me how it was. So my business there, then to be online, I have to be online and seen online as a consultant. And I've been 2005, I think I set my first website up. I had my first website going in around about 2007, 2008, it may have been. And now I've been working with companies under their brands and been working online from that. But my focus is working with people online and showing them the benefit of how they can show people why they're there and how to use online technology to improve their customer relationship management, because you've got to grow your sales, and you do that by keeping as many customers as you can coming back, and also you get them to buy more, and that saves you a lot of, I call it like harvesting an orchard of customers. You get them to buy once and then you get them to buy again. Does that give you an idea of where I come from, Patience?
Wow, thank you. It's been a journey. Okay, you've been in the business for more than 20 years plus. Why do you do what you do, Ross?
Well, I like to, I'm lazy. So by doing what I enjoy, and I'm really passionate about helping people look at their customers for the life cycle. So right from the, how long have you been in business, Patience?
We've been now, yeah, but you've been more. So we just wondered if you are not really tired of it. What keeps you going? What fuels you?
But what it fuels me is that when I talk to a person like you, I say, well, how long are you going to be in the business? And you might say to me, oh, I can see myself doing this for another 5 or 10 years. And so the prospect that you see this week, and if they become a customer of yours in, say, 3 months' time, and they could buy from you maybe once or twice a year. Say they buy from you twice a year. That means over a 10-year period, they're going to buy from you 20 times. Now, if you have 1,000 customers buying 20 times over 10 years, that's 20,000 transactions that you don't have to find because you've already got them in your database. And if you look after them and if you look after the people who are your prospects, they might say no now, but they might say yes in 6 months or a year's time because they've come to trust you. And so my passion is showing people the benefit of being nice to people all the way through and helpful and getting in front of them. Use technology to get in front of them because research shows that people do research online, and when they come to you for your product or service, chances are that they are 57 to 70% of the way through their decision-making process about that particular product or service. So by the time they talk to you, they've looked at you in LinkedIn, they've looked at you on Facebook if you're there, Twitter, they've looked at your company's website, they've looked for reviews on the Yelp, and all those ones. And then they've come to you and they're comparing you with your competitors. And so you've got to show value of the benefits, the value of your benefits, as opposed to price. Because if you work on price, then you're always going to lose to somebody, because somebody will always have a cheaper product than you. But nobody can do it as well as you if you can define your unique selling proposition. I call it unique benefit proposition. And if you can do that, so That's why I do it, because I can save people money. If I can get people to come back and buy again. I was talking to a company the other day, and we just by getting one more, because they only need a certain amount, just by getting one more prospect a week and converting them at the current rate, they would double their income that financial year. By getting one more prospect a week and keeping that customer and making sure that they come back, and a third of those customers would buy again the following year. And just by doing that, we could double their income in 1 year by getting one prospect a week.
But it is hard to get one. Ross, now the market is really very saturated. Consulting is everywhere. Everyone is about creating more value. So how do you stand out as a consultant through all this noise?
Well, for me, I've worked on the basis of what do I do well? And I do effectively what you might term customer relationship management well, but I look at it as a strategy as opposed to just a CRM system. I don't mind what CRM system you use. I can recommend some very good ones like Nimble and Insightly and Agile, but those ones are there from that point of view. How I do it is I've developed a niche, specializing in creating repeat profitable customers. I call myself the Client Orchardist because I help people farm or their tree of their orchard of customers and maintain them and look after them for years. Like I was talking to you just before about saying, well, if you're going to be in business for 10 years, you want to keep as many of those customers with you for the next 10-year period. And the prospects, you want to keep on nurturing those so they become customers over time as well when somebody makes contact. So I've developed my niche based around that philosophy. So I'm different. I'm not aware of anybody who offers a business strategy consulting around like that. They might develop or offer CRM systems, but they don't look at the organization as a whole on an ongoing basis. And that's what I do.
You talk about the biggest expense business executives and the owners often. I don't know about that. What is this mysterious expense?
This mysterious expense? Well, can I ask you, what do you think the biggest expense in the business may be? What would you say they are?
Do we think about advertising a lot?
Yes, yeah. That's a big one.
Now I'll leave it to you.
Okay. That's and marketing and staffing costs often come up, and for a lot of businesses, it's rent. They are perhaps some of the three key ones. But the biggest expense often that you don't know about are customers who leave you, because 90% of customers who leave you, they don't tell you they're going. Tell you that they're gone. You don't know that they've gone. And so all of a sudden, you might, and if they leave and they don't tell you, then you don't know, you're having to recruit more customers. You've wasted all that money, that expense that you've gone to recruit a customer is gone. You've incurred that expense and you've lost it. So that's a really big expense, because you then have to spend money again to go and get more customers to replace them. And my own anecdotal research for small businesses, husband and wife teams, couples that have got a small business and they might be turning over somewhere maybe $100,000, or 50,000, 70,000 pounds, to say 100,000 pounds. Even for them, the cost to them for a new customer is possibly cost them in time and money and marketing costs and all those things, possibly around about 50 pounds to 150 pounds even to get. So that's the biggest expense that you've got that people don't track. They know the number of customers, but they don't know how many. They don't look at their database of customers. And this is where online businesses have got it over the retail though, because you can keep a list of all your customers and when they purchase. And if they don't purchase after when you would expect them to purchase again, you can go back and ask them. And you can send them a special message. You can even retarget them with marketing in Google and Facebook by putting their email addresses in there. And that's the biggest expense that you don't know. If you don't monitor how many customers don't come back, then you're losing money. And you want to also reduce the number of customers coming back, because the research shows that 67% of people who do leave a business do so because of what is called perceived indifference. I call it they don't know whether you love them or not.
Oh, how do you show them love? Now, Rossi, you are going too far now. How can we now start showing extra love on these customers if they are complaining, they are always saying we don't provide them what they want? Why should we keep all the complainers? We should go out and get the nice ones.
Well, like sometimes there is always going to be some customers in your data who are going to complain. They're going to be your squeaky wheels. And some of them, you do want to fire them or let them go, and you do as much as you can. There's a chap in the States called Jay Bauer, and he says that you should reply to somebody twice about their complaint, then you let it go. Just they're not worth dealing with after that point in time. And I think that's a really good way to look at it. It's a time efficiency, and you can never make them happy. You can never make it happy. You can never make a wrong right. You can make amends for it, but you can never right or wrong. Doesn't matter what it is. But there are other people they're complaining. But if you look after them, a person who complains, I say, is one of your most loyal customers. Because that loyal customer, they care so much about you that they come to you and say, hey, this is wrong. This is what's wrong. I'd like to give you the opportunity to fix it. And while they might not think of themselves as a loyal customer, you can treat them like that, because there's two things that can happen. If you put it right, and do it really, really well, they will come back and buy from you again. And they will tell the story of how you put it right. So they will tell other people. And today with technology, on Facebook, the average number of friends a person has on Facebook is 120. So when they tell a good story, it's possibly seen maybe by half or a third or a half of their friends. 30 to 50 people, perhaps, have seen that good story of how you fixed it. So that's a really loyal customer. And also, if you fix it for them, you're fixing it for your other customers, and you're making them happy. And you might find other ways to add value to your service to differentiate yourself from your customers. And if I can give you an example of that, I was with one of the businesses I was working with, there was two customers and they complained, and I had to take effectively 6 hours of my day to go and meet them. They lived in a remote place. We agreed to get together. I went and I found a way to resolve the problem. They said, yes, that's really great. And during that time, they said, oh, look, we've got a business opportunity you might be interested in as a result of this. And as a result of that, the business I was working with scored something like $30,000 in additional business because we fixed a complaint.
Wow. Okay.
So that's why you want to show the love.
Keep the complaining on the list. Oh, that is very nice. Okay, let's put man aside. Ross, you've been in business for a long time. How did you know that you were successful?
Well, I perceive that I'm successful because I'm happy. You've got to have goals, and I haven't reached my ultimate goal yet. But I've reached some milestones. I'm getting to be speaking with people like you and others around the world about what I enjoy talking about and spreading the word about showing the love to customers. That's one of my success points. My other is that people are engaging me to do that. And success is how we measure it individually. Compared to where I was, during the GFC, I went through a very hard time, and I was working night shifts, driving forklifts and things like that to make enough dollars to pay all my debts. So we all go through hard times, and you would say I wasn't successful, but I was successful because I came out of I was still able to continue growing my business from the startup mode that I was in back in the early 2000s. But I work hard. So that's how I know I'm successful. I'm still in business. I went out on my own back in, I think, 2004 initially, and I've been working over here in Queensland since 2005, and it's 2017. I'm getting old.
Old and wiser.
Wow. Well, thank you for that.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Ross, do you think anyone who can be a really good consultant or an entrepreneur, or more people are more talented like you than others?
No, we can all be entrepreneurs, and I'm not a motivational speaker or anything like that, but I really believe we can be whatever you want to be, and the younger you are, the better chance that you have of becoming an entrepreneur and being successful. But you've got to define what that success is. If you don't define what it is, how do you know that you've achieved it? So you do have to set some goals, but you may be in your, so you might be in your 20s, and you might say, well, by the time I'm 40, I want to be doing this, or in the next 5 years, this is what I want to do, and you can't see past that, and that's okay. That's your point of success, because on the way there, you'll develop and understand more of what success and what you want to do. Every year you will be able to look a little bit further, and you have something more reference. You've got more. You do grow wiser. I hate to tell you this, you actually do grow wiser with age. But providing you've got the drive, you have to be disciplined, and you have to be all the time. What are you going to do, and what will you do to do that? Will you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to listen to a webinar by a really great speaker, and I'll use people like the sales hunter, Mark Hunter over in the US, Tony Robbins, Mel Robbins, any of those speakers, and you've got Tim Hughes up in England, who's a great, is a recognised expert in customer experience. I get up and I'll listen to his stuff at the middle of the night. What will you do? You've got to have the drive, have some goals and drive, and a bit of a plan of how you're going to get there. You can't. It's like going, I suppose, driving from London to Edinburgh. You plan how you're going to go. You're going to go up. Which route are you going to take to get up there? And then when you get along the way, but you won't plan for every corner and every hill on the way. You'll do it in stages. I don't know the journey well enough to be able to sort of say where you're going to go, but you'll say, I'm going to stop and get fuel here. I'll stop and have something to eat over there. And you'll break it down into bite-sized chunks from London to Edinburgh. But you won't do it all there. But you've got to have a bit of a plan for your life and for your business. If you don't have a plan for your business, chances are it won't be successful until you do that.
Okay. What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
Listening to other people, other mentors, getting my own mentors, paying for those services sometimes. I speak about my personal branding, and I work with a lady who's helped me, and I've engaged her and worked with her. She's worked with me over the last couple of years to develop my brand, the Client Orchardist. And we're just coming up now with some new, I will actually have a new brand coming out shortly, the next couple of months. And she's a personal branding specialist. Now, I'm sure there are people like her up in the UK, but she has won an international award for being that. It's talking to them, listening to people like Mel Robbins and Tony Robbins, those motivational speakers, Les Brown, learning those, put positive thoughts in there. And that, to me, is an important part, is finding people to help you plan, because it's very hard to look at yourself and your business critically. And when you've got a mentor, whether you're paying them or they're a friend who's a bit older than wiser than you, and you have to go back and say how you're going and what you've done, and they'll say, well, have you done this? And you say, no. Then you become accountable, because you don't like to be seen as not doing something to people. And that's an important part to be successful. For me, has been learning from others. I'm not the font of all knowledge. I've got a lot of knowledge and I'm dangerous in some areas. But if I want to help a client about HR, I bring in an HR specialist. I know a little bit. If I'm going to help a client build their website, I'm going to get an HR a website specialist, because I know a bit, and I've built my own website, but it wasn't a very good website. But what you want is to save yourself time, which means you've got more time to go and make a sale in your skill area, while the person building your website does that. And it's really hard to do it when you're starting out, because you don't have a lot of finance and you've got to prioritize. Sometimes it's better to wait just a little bit, but sometimes you can't, because otherwise you'll miss the opportunity.
Okay.
And sometimes you can't because nobody's paying you, so you have to earn money somehow.
Okay. How does it CRM fit into marketing and advertising, or is it a standalone activity?
No. Customer relationship management and the systems, I believe, should be part of your overall business strategy when you look at it. Because what it is you're trying to understand who your customers are. So the first part of it is, if you know who your existing customers are now, and you look at them and you say, well, if I look at my own business, for example, I tend to work with businesses who are been operating for around about 12 months, and they've got possibly 500 people in their database. They will tend to be, at the small business side of it, will be a couple working in the business. They'll be doing the business. They'll be under stress. They'll be time poor. They'll be wanting, and they'll possibly not making quite enough money. And at certain times of the year, like down here in Australia, this time of year is the end of the financial year. The 30th of June is the end of the financial year for businesses. And it's at this time of year where they tend, and it can be a quiet time of year for some businesses, and they become under stress. Seasonal businesses come under stress. So I have to look at that, and they're going to be somewhere between the ages of 35 to 50. So I understand that, and then I have to look at, what do my best customers look like? And I divide that group out. Because if you understand what your best, and it's looking about what their values are and what they believe in. Because you've got to believe in the similar things. I don't know. I'm not a great one for gambling, for example. But that doesn't, depending on how it is. But if I was really strong against gambling, I might not take on a client who believes in gambling because they're gambling away, and I don't understand the psyche behind people who are gamblers. All I want to do is move away from it, so I might not engage with a person who's gambling, for example. So that's a belief or an activity, nothing to do with their demographics of where they live, how old they are, and things like that. They might be families. So if you know who your best customers are, then you know, what do they read? Where do they hang out online? What are they interested in? What sports do they play? Where can you find them in your community? And then you can target your marketing activities to that. If you understand their age group they are, you can set the tone. If you think of the airlines, McDonald's does this a lot. They will have one advertisement, say, for the Big Mac, and I'll use that. They will have different characters from different cultures, and the ads with slightly different themes, but the basis of it is it's still about the Big Mac, for example, but it's showing people of different cultures in the same, promoting the same product, but it's appealing to a different, each advertisement is appealing to a different audience. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, I do. I used to work in McDonald's.
So did my daughter.
Those days. Okay. All right.
But,
People talk.
but that's where it comes from. That's where it comes from, the marketing. It applies across CRM, across the business, and the CRM system used, the customer relationship management system like Nimble or Insightly or Zoho, whatever you use, Salesforce, if you get a bit bigger, those ones there, they just help you be more efficient about it. Your accounting system is an important part of your customer relationship management strategy because you don't want to send out wrong invoices. So those are things. So it's, to me, customer relationship management has to be in your business planning and your business strategies, not something that is, I'll do over here, because it affects everything.
Okay. People talk about buyer profile, avatar, and buyer persona. What are they, and why are they so important to us?
Well, this is it. You know, like if we were looking to the business that I was working with today, I was doing some work with today. They were looking at people who had a specific trade that they an industry that they were dealing in, that they had a standalone shop that they worked from, that they were associated with a particular group of companies. And so that's a very broad avatar from that point of view. But because I can't go into who they are, I can't go into much more detail. But I've had, when I'm working with them, it's the more detail you can get, you can write better marketing material. You can make your offer better. If you think about, if you say you create the profile, and I've done this just recently for a business, and I've seen it done a lot lately, is that if you're targeting people who were born in the 1980s, have a look online in Google and find out popular names of people born in the 1980s. And I found one, for example, Michael and Amanda. So you're going to write to Michael and Amanda because can you think of a person called Michael, Patience?
I have a few friends who are called Michael.
and so you've got a picture of them in your mind, yes?
Yes.
So if you were writing a brochure or an email to them or a landing page for them or an advertisement, you would be looking to write it for that avatar, that Michael. If you picked one of those Michaels that you know, imagine if you were writing to him. Would it be different if you were writing to me?
Yes, it will.
And that's why buyer personas, avatars, enable you to do that. Because if you write something as if you're writing to me, the Michael you're thinking of might not react to that. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And by doing that, it means you can look into your database and find what does Michael look like. Can you give me some generics? How old is Michael?
Okay, how old is Michael? 45, family, religious person, and laid back, not too serious, yes.
Yeah. Does he follow sports?
Occasionally.
Yeah. What sport does he like most?
Football, because you're in
Football.
Australia. Yes.
Yeah. No, football, soccer. We're talking to your audience up there up in the UK. It's football. Yeah.
Yes.
What music does he like?
He's not into music.
Okay. What is he into?
Just football and just having good time with his family and friends. Just quiet, casual guy, not off to the
Okay.
stream. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see we're building up a picture, and then you can sort of find out what might appeal to them. And if you've got that, then you can find others who look like him in your databases, and you can segment them. And remember, with online marketing, if you've got an online business, you can use Google target marketing to target fairly specific profiles. I'm not a Google expert, by the way. You need to talk to somebody who is good at Google advertisements and Facebook marketing. But Facebook marketing, if you have a look at that, you can get quite specific down to what are their interests. Are they interested in sports? Are they interested in cars? Are they in a certain geographic location, quite a narrow geographic location? What is their household income and things like that? You can target an advertisement, so it comes down to maybe a very small number of people. But when you narrow it down, you're more likely to sell to that people, because the people who don't fit that profile are unlikely to respond to it. Okay, but you can't go too narrow, otherwise you might only end up with one person, Michael, replying to your advertisement. You probably can't afford to keep your business going.
Yes, you need 100 of them. Okay, Ross, tell us about your online free consultation and showing customer the love.
Well, what it is I offer people 2 sessions to contact me. You can send me an email. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, the Ross Keating, the Client Orchardist. On Facebook, I'm on Twitter under Ross Keating, and I'm the only guy that looks like me, really.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. I'm unique. And from that perspective, people can just contact me. I will send them a link to book the first session, which will be a 30-minute session with me, and we'll figure out what it is that's important to them and whether I can help them. I might not be able to help them, doesn't matter. And I will work the time zone, because a lot of your audience is up there in the UK and the Northern Hemisphere, that side of it, and it's not too bad. We can work morning or evenings around that. And then once I've done that discovery session, then I will do a free 1-hour session as well after that. So we're talking 90 minutes all up, free. And if I can help them, we will go through that. So the first session is find out what they want to talk about particularly, and what it is and what their goals are. And if I can help them, and if I can, then we'll arrange another session. And that's free.
What clients are you taking on? Do you take on the newbies? Do you take on the established one, or the people who are already up there making 1 million plus? Where is your client?
The clients that tend to work with me on a paid basis tend to be an established business with been operating for 12 months or so, and up to around about $10 million to $20 million in revenue. They've got maybe up to 30 staff. From that point of view, that's the people I client. But this offer for this 90-minute session, I do have limited numbers. They'll have to get in fairly quickly, because I can't do all my time, and I don't want to be. I can't afford to do that. But I'll make 20 spots available. And I will offer over the next month, but they'll need to get in the next week for that. And I'll make those 20 spots available to people, regardless of whether they've got a business. They need to have a business now, not thinking about starting up. So they've got to be a business that's operating full time now, or pretty much full time. Okay.
Wow. Okay. So, clan, there will be more from Ross in a moment. If you are finding Ross's journey interesting and you are ready to hear more, come and listen to the full version of the interview at onlinesuccessjourney.com. If you are on online success already, click on part 2 of Ross's journey and you'll get lots of information to help you in your business and how you can go about to contacting him about the consulting your business. And don't forget, you can also access all other online success journey interview podcasts on the site as well. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Ross.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the online success journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form, by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.